On the tail end of our parenting experience, our kids actually become adults. How do we talk to them? How do we teach young adults about money, for example? As a parent, I've run into this myself, and I get asked quite often about money and how we teach this concept of money to our kids, or maybe even more importantly, to the young adults that our kids eventually become. We kind of want them to work their way out of the house eventually, right? So that they know about money and how to bring that into their life. And there's a few tips that I think are really helpful here. First of all, let's start with what money is. A good friend of mine once explained to me that there are two kinds of money and there are two kinds of people. Well, that's interesting. Tell me more. He went on to say, the first kind of money has to do with things that we immediately value. Things that have intrinsic value in and of themselves. And the second kind of money is the kind that we have to trade for something that we value. The second kind is the more obvious kind. I have here a $10 note in US currency. This is the second kind of money because the only value this has is if I trade it for something that I do value. It's not very useful otherwise, unless I, run out of paper or something. I don't know. What could you use this for other than to trade it? That's what he was talking about. Now, the first kind of money, that's a little more elusive. When I come home from the office and my daughter greets me, Daddy, and gives me a big old hug. Whew, money, right? Because I immediately value that. When I go up from the three-point line when I'm playing basketball and gentle push and a mild arc and swoosh, I get that three-pointer. Money. See, I immediately value that. Now, what are the two kinds of people? My friend simplified it to this. They're the kind of people you know and the kind of people you don't. Okay, that's a pretty clear line, right? Either you know them or you don't. There's people who are close to you. There's people who are more distant. His point was we trade the first kind of money with the first kind of people. Those things that I immediately value, like a hug from my daughter. She's the first kind of people for me. The kind that are close to me, that I have an intimate relationship with. The first kind of money is things that we immediately value. So we can trade that directly with each other as we give each other things that we both value, okay? My wife, my kids, people in my close friend circle. Now, the second kind of money, this one, we trade with the second kind of people. Now, because we don't know immediately what they value, they get to decide that. We trade this kind of money with them, which simply holds a place until we can trade it for something that we value. Does that make sense? So, two kinds of money, two kinds of people. Keep that in mind for a moment, and let's look at the exchange dynamic. Let's say that I like puzzles, and this is one that I keep here in my office. It's got different colored balls that you push through in different ways to complete the pattern. Let's say that this has a price tag on it that says $10. Oh, I have $10. Which one do I want more? Well, if I value this more than $10, I'm happy to give this in exchange for that. Trade. What if I'm the guy selling this? I look at both of these. I think, wait a minute, which one do I want more? Well, I value that $10 more than the thing that I made. That's why I made it. So I'm happy to trade as well. See, it trades hands. What is this actually worth? Well, it depends. It begs the question, to whom? The person buying it is willing to trade $10 for it. Obviously, it's worth more than $10 to that person. The person selling it would rather have the $10. Obviously, it's worth less than $10 to that person. Who wins? Both parties win. That's important to understand as we talk about money and teach young adults about money. Let's start when they're teenagers or even younger kids too. That value exchange is extremely important. And here's why. Where did this come from? Why do I have this $10 bill? Did it just magically appear in my hand? No, I'm a psychologist, not a magician. Keep that in mind with some of the questions that you're going to ask me. This didn't just magically appear, it was held by someone else. Well, why did they give it to me? Because I showed up and gave them something that was worth more than $10 to them. They gave me the $10 as an exchange. Here's another way to think about it. Money is created as a receipt for value. Think about the receipt concept for a minute. A receipt for value. I went out to lunch today with Nate, the YouTube producer that creates this channel for us. We sat down, we received some food. That's something that we valued. We left some of this for the people there at the restaurant, which is the receipt for the value that they created for us. If you think of money as a receipt, then all of your money problems can now be solved by a simple question. Not how do I get more money? See, it doesn't make sense to say, how do I get more receipts? The better question is, how do I create more value for more people? And the receipts will come in as a side effect or a natural consequence of the value that we created. Bob Burg, the author of The Go-Giver, which is an awesome little book, and he was on my podcast. You can link to the interview that I had with Bob down there in the description. And he was talking about this very concept. He said it this way: money is the thunder to the lightning of value. Think about what that means for a moment. Value. Boom, thunder. The lightning comes first. It causes and is followed by the thunder. When we create value, money shows up as a result of that. That money can then be exchanged for other value that we want to receive. Let's talk for just a minute about producing and consuming. When we produce value, that value is only valued by others. In other words, it's not valuable unless somebody values it. I know that probably goes without saying. But here's the thing. What if we create value and then consume it? What if I go make a sandwich and eat it? All right, well, I've consumed the value. There won't be any receipts coming because I didn't provide value to someone else for that. What if I go make a sandwich and then present it to you? Here's your sandwich. Well, then I might get the receipts. So we have to be careful about what kind of value we're creating and producing and who is it for. I'm not saying it's bad to create value for yourself. I think that's awesome. Any value that you consume does not bring in receipts. It tends to take receipts away from you because you're receiving value. So let's just wrap this around to the bottom line. Money is the thunder for the lightning of value. The question is not how do I get more money? The question is how do I create and produce more value for more people? That is the economic answer that any of us could apply, and especially as we teach young adults about money. Even though the kids are older, the principles remain the same. Dig into those principles in more depth with the Parenting Power Up audio course right over there.